Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for the April release of the TRP webinar series. Today's webinar will be focusing on personal training, finding out what it means for your members and for your business. Before we head into our webinar, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping and just check that everything is working from a technology perspective. So if you are able to hear me and see the screen and you're looking at the personal training slide shot, you'll find on the right hand side of your screen you'll have a control panel. Within that control panel you should see a small yellow hand. If you could just click that hand and let me know that you're able to see and hear. Just waiting for a couple of other people to find that. If you are experienced any problems, and obviously if you can hear me, you will find on the panel there's also a questions box. Along the webinar, everyone has been muted. We're all in listen-only mode. This is because there are several people joining us on the webinar, and just to make this move as smoothly as possible and so we can eliminate background noise. If you do have questions along the way, though, please do feel free to ask, and you can do this by using the questions box in the control panel on the right of the screen. If you are equally experiencing any issues, if you can pop those into the questions box as well. So I'm just going to give it one more moment just for those people who haven't raised their hands. If you could find that small yellow hand on the control panel just so we can check that everyone can hear me okay and see the screen okay. Fantastic, that seems to be most of us. So we'll head into the content of today's webinar. As I said, today we'll be discussing the latest findings from our TRP 10,000 research. And the latest findings we've reported on which members purchased personal training, what their main reasons were, and how personal training is associated with visit frequency, reported progress, and overall retention. Before we head into our findings, just wanted to give an overview for those who may be less familiar with us at TRP or the research that we've been carrying out, a little bit of an overview of what we've been doing over the last 18 months. So at TRP we're currently undertaking the largest single study of health and fitness members. We're looking to track over 10,000 members through the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll be providing learning on the member behaviour before, during and after. This allows us to provide an understanding of what shapes their experience and how this can be improved. In terms of an overview of who took part, we sent out surveys to just under 250,000 members, club members. Just under 12,000 of those were opened between July and September of 2013. The majority of those people completed at least one page of that survey, giving us some information, but we did have an 85% of completion rate. That gave us the upwards of the 10,000 members that we were looking to track. Those 10,000 members were made up of age groups between 16 and 85 years, with the average age of 41. They were slightly more female, but only slightly, at 50% more female than male. And the final sample did cover all of our major groups, so across all sectors, all types of clubs, from private independents, private chains, management contractors, local authorities and trust. So on to the main findings of our latest research. This is based on, as I said, the ongoing research from TRP 10,000 and the study taken part by Dr. Melvin Hilsden. And he's just offering his insights on the research, on the findings and the statistics. So to work out whether personal training increased member retention, Dr. Melvin Hilsden looked at the main reasons for purchasing personal training and then other factors such as number of sessions purchased within the previous 3 months, with answers ranging from none to 12 or more. Members who purchased at least one personal training session were then asked for their main reason, selecting from 4 possible options, including other. Members were followed up after 7 months, at which point it was recorded whether they had cancelled or not. So we're going to start by looking at which members received PT. So we're looking at the number of personal training sessions purchased based on gender, age group and length of membership. So overall, 10% of members within our 10,000 of the group reported purchasing at least one personal training session in the previous 3 months. This is slightly higher than the average personal training membership penetration we see. However, we'll look at the breakdown of how many people had continual personal training sessions against those that just started with one. So 4% purchased between 1 and 3 sessions. 6% purchased 4 or more. We found females were more likely to purchase personal training, as were members aged between 25 and 44 years. So personal training was much more popular in this age group than it was within the younger or older members. Mid-term members, in terms of length of stay, and by that we mean people had been members of their club between 6 and 36 months, they were most likely to purchase regular sessions compared to new or long-standing members. So then we asked their reasons for purchasing personal training. And there were 4 main reasons that stood out. So this graph shows the primary reasons members purchased at least one personal training session. They were able to report more than one reason. So a little over 50% of members purchased at least one personal training session said this was for motivation. And just slightly less, still only over 50%, reported that it was for assistance with achieving their goals more quickly. A slightly lower proportion of members reported purchasing personal training to help with exercise confidence, at just under 37%. And then another 36% said that was to get started with their program, to help them launch their exercise program. Amongst the other reasons given were things such as to help with the rehabilitation program, training for a specific event, and to help with weight loss. But this wasn't far and away the largest proportion of the reasons. Looking at motivation, members were much more female members were a little more likely to purchase personal training for motivation. So 57% of females purchased for motivation against 50% of males. We found there was very little difference between age groups and length of memberships when it came to motivation reasons. We found the youngest age group were most likely to purchase personal training to help them with their goals and to give them confidence with exercise. Which may seem a little surprising. We have a natural assumption that younger people tend to be more confident, but we found they were much more likely to cite this as a reason for taking on personal training. 63% of younger members reported purchasing to help with their goals compared to 43% of older members. Looking at getting started with the program, we found little difference for gender and length of stay, but we did find that the age group ages between 35 and 44 years were the least likely to report that it was to get started within a program. About 29% of these members said that they were likely to do it to get started in a program. It might be worth mentioning at this point, in terms of reasons, that most clubs design their new member journey to get members started. But we're finding it's actually a lower reason for why members purchase personal training. That's not to say there shouldn't be a focus of the new member journey, but maybe there should be another focus for this as well. It's not just about getting members started. We should also have that focus on motivation, giving people confidence, and helping them achieve their goals more quickly. So then we wanted to look at, is there an association between personal training and visit frequency? And ultimately the overwhelming answer was yes, and very positively. The level of personal training sessions purchased is positively associated with regular club visits, as demonstrated in this graph. Regular personal training is associated with much lower levels of non-attendance. So members who did not take part in personal training had a 28% non-attendance rate. So those people that attended less than once a week. This dropped to 16.5% for those who took part in regular personal training sessions. On average, members who purchased 4 or more personal training sessions in the previous 3 months, they averaged 1.4 more club visits per month than members who did not purchase personal training. And just to note, not only will this impact on well-being, success and achievement of goals, previous TRP research has shown the clear link between regular attendance and retention. Members attending twice a week or more can double their average length of stay compared to those who attend less than twice a week. So digging deeper into the study, we also wanted to look at whether personal training had an impact on the level of perceived progress. Compared to members who do not purchase personal training, those who do reported higher levels of progress in all areas that they were asked about. And in previous research we've looked at there are 11 key areas. Not only was this true for physical outcomes such as fitness and weight loss, but also for social outcomes and enjoyment of exercise. Personal training members were also more likely to report that they had attended the club as frequently as planned compared to non-personal training members. When considered all together, the 2 measures of progress most strongly associated with personal training were, firstly, weight loss, and this is more interesting when we've previously reported that weight loss was one of the least reported goals by general club members, one of the main reasons they join, but one of the least reported measures of progress. The second highest reported was making friends. And again, in previous study, we know from earlier findings that making friends at the club can reduce cancellation rates by up to 40%. We also noted this was another far less reported measure of progress by general club users than it was by personal training members. So we've previously reported that progress with personal goals is one of the keys to improved retention, and based on these results, clubs can confidently advertise that regular personal training is associated with progress in a wide range of areas including general fitness, weight loss and overall enjoyment of exercise. So this is breaking this down a little further to look at those overall areas of reported progress in the last 3 months. So we can see here the difference, the blue line being members who had no personal training and the measures of progress, the percentage of members who reported progress in this area. The red bar being members who took part in 1 to 3 personal training sessions, and then the green bar were those members that took part in 4 or more sessions or took part in personal training on a regular basis. So we can see in all areas the measures of progress were significantly higher in those who reported taking part in regular personal training. So overall, from a club perspective, we want to understand if personal training actually increases member retention. We found that a higher proportion of members retain their memberships for over a 7-month period follow-up if they have regular personal training sessions compared to non-personal training members. We also found if all members purchased the equivalent of 4 or more personal training sessions in a 12-week period, we can estimate that 29% of observed cancellations would have been avoided. When we break this down by rate of cancellation, we can see a couple of interesting things. Despite reporting greater progress than non-personal training members, members who had only 1 occasional PT session actually showed a lower retention rate than members who don't purchase it. So why is this? It may be that members who are not making much progress turn to personal training as a last resort with unrealistic expectations for quick results. Therefore, when results don't come in a couple of sessions, they maybe give up altogether. It could be that members who have occasional personal training sessions are those members who know they struggle, those members who we know have continual commitment to exercise challenges, and therefore may be predisposed to dropping out earlier. It could potentially even be a bad experience personal training. This area would need a little more investigation, but what we can clearly see is where we take part in, members that take part in regular personal training sessions of 4 times or more do significantly decrease their risk of cancellation, and we increase their retention rate. So what would be our recommendations? Firstly, quite obviously, to ensure personal training sessions are delivered at a high quality. We would encourage personal trainers to treat members as high risk if they do give up after 1 or 2 sessions. We've clearly seen that their risk of dropout is actually higher. We would need to ensure the expectations of personal training are managed. If members do try personal training, first their expectations are not met and they give up after a few sessions. The risk of cancellation then increases altogether. So we need to understand what their expectations are, their measures of progress are, and make sure we're delivering on these. Personal training taster sessions could work, they could be provided that they are good enough to get the members hooked and they make sure that they do achieve those objectives. We can find other ways of rewarding members for committing to personal training, discount personal training packages for regular sessions to ensure members gain a habit of personal training. Or it could be other rewards if you for example, have a spa facility, we offer complimentary services, maybe they could earn themselves some gift vouchers to these areas. We could offer discounts or incentives for completing a number of sessions over a set time period. Ensure that we're actively promoting the multiple benefits of personal training, so throughout the club, looking at not just the physical benefits, but the social benefits, the levels of energy, levels of enjoyment, and making exercise more fun, more challenging, and more rewarding. It will be important to monitor personal training dropout rates and therefore review the level of service and make sure we're picking up on those people that drop out as early as possible. So to recap on our benefits of personal training, but before we do, I think it's worth noting that we cannot be clear if there's any element of self-selection happening within this study. This is something we need a little bit more investigation. If 10% of taking up personal training, we at this point don't know how much more committed or competitive those people might naturally be. So is there a natural disposition of people who want to take part in personal training that they're already slightly more committed to exercise, to be paying for personal training and committing to those sessions? We've also seen though that people do still drop out, so this may not be the case across the board. So what are an overview of the main benefits? We found that it was almost a 30% reduction in risk of cancellation for those members who took part in personal training. There potentially is the scope to increase personal training penetration rates. Take-up is low generally for personal training. Our 10% is actually considered a very high penetration rate compared to the average of 2 to 5%. However, when we did look at those reporting regular personal training sessions, we were closer to the average of around 2%. At this point, it's possibly worth mentioning as well that from a resource perspective, for a time and cost perspective, delivering personal training to much more than 10% might be quite a difficult task. Instead, we may ask what we can learn from personal training that maybe we can implement into our general gym floor support and focus. So adding into our new member journey initially, but then ongoing support. learning from the benefits of personal training, so commitment to regular sessions, knowing that members wanted to take part in personal training for motivation. Can we focus our interactions around generating some real levels of motivation and understanding exactly what those motivations are? Then can we look at making sure we're providing them with measures of progress and picking them up on a regular basis? Our gym floor interactions are never going to be as focused, as long, as detailed as personal training sessions, just by definition. However, there could be some key elements that we can pull out from our personal training learnings. If we could do this through personal training and through our gym floor interactions, this could then increase the number of members who actually do achieve their goals. We know that this in turn increases longevity of membership. So that's successful for the member and successful for the club. So that was a brief run through of our initial findings from our personal training research for our TRP 10,000 members. So thank you for joining us for the webinar. We hope it's been informative. We have shared this research through Health Club Management in their April edition, so please do take a look at that for some more information. If you would like to get in touch with us to see the slides from this webinar, or we have recorded this webinar as well if you'd like to share that with others, so please do let us know. Get in touch with us at theretentionpeople.com, or for customers, get in touch with your account manager or your coach. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take them. If there's anything that wasn't covered or you'd like more information, please do just type any questions you have into the box. So I will stay on the line just for a couple of minutes more in case there are any questions you'd like to ask. While we are waiting for that, just to give you an update on the next events that are coming up. Our next webinar, we do run these monthly, the last Tuesday of every month, and our next webinar is going to focus on TRP Mobile and how we can maximise technology to keep our members engaged. We also run regional management forums, so these are our face-to-face sessions where allowing other operators to meet, to share ideas, to network and discuss findings of our research and their own experiences. The next one will be held in July, and you can find details of all our upcoming events at our website www.theretentionpeople.com through our blogs and events. We'll equally be sending out weekly blogs as well. We hope you're signed up to receiving these. If not, you can do this in the website as well. So again, thank you very much for your time. I hope this has been a useful and informative session. Please do get in touch with us if there's anything else we can help you with at any of the contact details here. Otherwise, I will stay on the line for another couple of minutes in case you have questions, and then we will end the webinar. So thank you again, enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you or speak to you soon.